Okay, what a way to come back. So, chapter 5, from the author. By now you're wondering, how did Nisha and Claude Frollo meet? What is that device on our car that allows you to travel through time and space? What is the story on that pager? Read on, children, as Frollo Freak continues her tale.
I really hope children aren't actually reading this story.
Well, they may have been, considering the time period. Well, maybe not, but considering the time period that the story took place.
Oh my gosh, this story... I was like 2 when this came out.
I was in 8th grade.
Yeah, I was.
What is the date on this one?
1997 in September.
Chapter 5. At home at last, Claude Frollo stood oh so close to me as I unlocked my front door. He kept nuzzling my neck, sniffing my hair, and whispered sweet nothings in my ear.
He was a creepy motherfucker.
We barely got in the door when Claude suddenly clasped me tightly to him, kissing me deeply and hungrily. I could feel my head spinning. My knees began to weaken. Such a rush of emotion coursing through my body.
Ick. When we came up for air, Claude held me at arm's length and gazed into my eyes. Should I call you a cab?
You, ma'am, are a cab.
Wow.
If you can't get a cab, you can leave in a hub. If that's too soon, you can leave in a minute now.
Oh, Denisha, I didn't mean to come on so strongly, darling, though I've been eyeballing you since the start. He said tenderly. It's just...
Start.
We're doing personas now? Can we steal Frollo's heart?
Yeah, okay.
It's just that it's been so long since we...
I knew what was on his mind, and trying to steer things in another direction, said, "Baby, I know it's been a long time, but can we get settled first?"
I like how you read it like Elvis Presley. Remember, I know it's been a long time, but... Claude softly laughed. One step at a time, my love?
I joined in his laughter and asked, "Are you hungry, sugar? I know you haven't eaten yet, and I have some really good barbecue I bought this afternoon." Sweet and spicy, just the way you like it.
Claude Frollo, because I couldn't just call him Claude at this point, smiled with approval.
Well, he is a Claude.
As I turned on the lights, then he finally said, "Thank goodness for M. Edison." Why?
Excuse me?
Mr. Edison? I think M is supposed to be Monsieur. Monsieur? I don't know how to speak French.
Monsieur Edison.
Which, you know, is somebody who would have absolutely nothing to actually do with the invention of time travel.
Well, I think he's talking about the lights.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes more sense, I guess, even though he wasn't responsible for inventing the light either.
Now I can fully feast my eyes on your loveliness. Or, light a torch. Even though it's the modern day, so that would be difficult.
Looked me up and down, his eyes taking in every detail. You never looked more beautiful. I like the dress. Very becoming. Coloring, the curves. Oh, my dear.
I smiled. Maybe just this once I could believe that he was paying attention to my attire and not looking at me. I wore a silk shantung dress of deepest violet, very elegant and figure-enhancing. My hair was swept in a stylish twist, and L and Rose held with a sparkling amethyst ornament, matching high-heeled Prêt de Soie shoes, a gold and amethyst necklace.
I get it, you like the color purple and amethyst.
And oversized earrings completed the ensemble. Ensemble. Even my makeup followed the same color scheme, right down to the deep violet lips. Now, I'm by no means skinny. In fact, I'm what you would call a healthy girl. Not fat, but all womanly curves and pleasing to the eye fleshiness. But why should I apologize? I guess Claude liked what he saw because he couldn't stop checking me out.
Claude, I said, why don't you put on some music while I change? Then I'll fix us a nice supper.
We just spent 10 minutes describing what we were wearing, and now let's take it all off.
Darkness, Raven, Dementia, Raven way! He looked somewhat disappointed and said, Why, darling, you look stunning. Why deprive me from drinking in all that beauty?
No.
Oh, I've been standing in these shoes all night. Besides, I paused, trying to think of an excuse. Barbecue sauce stains out of silk.
Okay, first of all, you never said you put those shoes back on after you took them off. So...
Cloud laughed good-humoredly and said, All right, my love, if you insist. He smiled and narrowed his eyes. Dressed up or down, you'll still ravish.
I returned to the smile. Make yourself at home, sugar, as you always do.
From my room upstairs, I could hear the strains of the Crystals, Fats Domino, the Ronettes, and classic Motown.
Is he listening to them all at once?
I guess.
All at once in a gigantic cacophony.
Gosh, I guess he really likes that old stuff, though it'd be new to him.
Yeah, really, it would be incredibly new to him.
Just as I do, I stifled a giggle as I remembered how Claude Frollo got himself all worked up when I sang Heat Wave at the street party in Paris that summer.
Now play him some Guar.
Yeah.
It was so funny with him trying to remain his usual straight-laced self, while his blood was literally boiling with desire.
If his blood was literally boiling, he'd be dead.
Unless he's a demon, which I could believe.
Yes.
Hellfire. Yeah.
Probably a fic for that too.
Of course, at the time, I really didn't know how much I truly affected him.
I returned downstairs to find that Claude had started a cozy fire. What is this man in fireplaces? It was a chilly late September night, and a fire added the right touch. I'm all right, I thought with a chuckle.
After a short silence, Claude commented on my casual wear. Just blue jeans and Indian University sweatshirt.
Because that existed. That's right, time travel.
Right.
What's this? Universitatis Indianisis, and they couldn't do cream and purple, he said as he tried to keep from laughing.
I don't get
What
it.
the hell is he talking about?
And
And why would he even have the grid for that kind of thing?
Maybe because all she is purple? She's a purple people eater?
Why is it saying Universitas Indianisis? What is that supposed to even mean? Is that supposed to be Latin?
Well, I'm sure it's vaguely racist.
I was gonna say maybe it was trying to up his Frenchness, that he had an accent.
Well, that'd be Greek, not French.
Yeah, that's Latin.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was right. It was Latin.
Well, wouldn't he know? Well, I don't know. Like, did they study Latin?
Back then, probably.
Anyway, real cute, Claude, I said, noting he swiped the swipe at I use real colors, cream and crimson. Yeah, so? He smiled broadly, adding, You do look rather fetching, Danisha. Even if the shirt hides your curves a bit, the jeans certainly make up for, oh, darling. You have the most delicious shape. Apparently he cannot get his mind out of the gutter. I think that was his problem to start with.
Yeah, pretty much.
With that, Claude took me in his arms again and sweetly kissed my lips. At this point, you shouldn't worry about making a full meal. Just grab some sandwiches, eat them, and go make out.
Sandwiches in the other sense.
Orgy sandwiches, the best in town!
With some nice cold lemonade.
And
Yes,
cream,
enjoy
if
your
you
shoes
know
off.
what I mean.
I do realize I had not planned on this, but things turning out as they did, I'm glad to be with you again, my darling. Oh, Nisha, the feelings I get when I do think of you. You continue to hold me close, kissing me over and over, and rocking me ever so gently. And I was grateful to have this man here with me, if only for a brief time. Your taste is crap. Your husband, though, is crap here.
I love you, Claude Frollo. Even if you had 100 women, I'd still love you. You're the sweetest, most wonderful, most exciting man I've ever met. I kissed him back, and Claude Frollo in a deep, sweeter than molasses voice said, My dear Nisha, I know you love me. I know how deeply you care for me. Why do you think I keep coming back to you? You don't have to answer that, for I can see it in your eyes. He kissed
Why are
me
you
again.
suddenly Tony Montana?
Then unexpectedly said, Come to think of it, I am a rather hungry. Now, where's the delicious barbecue we're having? This way, baby, as I led him into the kitchen.
With no proper break to indicate that somebody new is speaking.
We have another note from the author.
Yeah, remember my comment about, I hope kids aren't reading this? Official notice from the author and the site maintainer. We reiterate, under 16s, please leave now. If you read on and don't like what you read, don't blame us, smiley face. We now return you to the next installment of Back to the Frollo, already
How long
in
is
progress.
this thing? How long is this thing even?
20 chapters.
As far as I know. The kitchen was full of the warm, savory scent of spicy barbecued ribs. Claude uncorked a bottle of blush wine that you just so happened to have, while favorably commenting on my home and decor, which he should have seen before. It was a modest house, nothing like the splendid mansions of Murderin, whatever.
Of what?
Meridian.
Oh, Meridian.
Sorry, I said that totally wrong. But it was comfortable and in a nice neighborhood, as opposed to a shitty one.
Yes.
It didn't have stately columns or an expensive, well-manicured lawn, but it sported a wide front porch with a swing and a fairly spacious backyard full of late fall flowers. It sounds nice.
It does. I kind of wish I was there, but I produced the bowl of potato salad I had made for a Saturday afternoon with the girls' kitchen. I guess I'll have to skip our little hen party, I thought, grinning. Really have my hands full this weekend. With a flourish, I set the plastic bowl on the table where Claude was sitting.
He looked at the bowl's lid and loftily said, Ah, the noble contributions of Earl Tupper. What a fine example of mid-20th century suburban Americana. Then he examined the bowl's shape, spinning it between the tips of his fingers, and after wrinkling his nose said, I'm sorry, my dear, but that really is a hideous shade of pink.
Now, Claude, I pretended to bristle at his attack on my Tupperware. I happen to like my bowl. Besides, you don't hear me complain about your dishes back at the palace.
Snap, snap, snap.
Indeed.
I really don't think he would particularly care on the history of exactly, like, your light bulbs and your Tupperware or anything like that. Because I sure as hell don't when I'm using this shit.
Oh, excuse me.
We have to pretend that he cares about something, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure he'd be interested in maybe learning things once you got past, like, the xenophobia kind of thing, but, Touche, my love, he said laughingly. But I was just making a comment. Oh, Nisha, that looks so delicious. Apparently I never finish a sentence. Claude began focusing on the food as I placed the platter of ribs before him. I learned a long time ago that if all else fails, give Claude Frollo good food and plenty of it.
The weight of the man's heart is through his stomach, as they say. Honestly, I thought, how can one man have such a hearty appetite and remain so slim and trim? Criminals all day, or just keeping up with all his ladies. Is Herman or something?
Yeah, he's a player in this one.
An unwilling one, to be fair, though.
Yeah. He's got all those, what do we got? Flopping space moles.
Yeah, fantasy star muffins.
Oh, what's so funny? Claude playfully asked me, for he quickly noticed me trying to suppress a giggle.
Just something that happened at work today. I tried to play it off, but I didn't think he bought it. He just sat there and helped himself to barbecue salad and bread.
We enjoyed a pleasant late evening supper. The wine helped smooth over any awkwardness in the conversation, because there was awkwardness there. You guys seemed to be going just fine. He didn't
Well, he brought up the new Star Wars movie, and it sort of got weird.
He didn't discuss his work or, thank goodness, the day's difficulties. Instead, he asked me about my family, my work, and my plans for the weekend.
Leading question. On spending the weekend with me, Claude? I smiled.
Maybe not. It depends. How much spoon you give me? I don't know. He replied with a grin. That's my own. I thought we could take a drive to, where was that place we visited last fall? Brown County?
I don't think we want to go there.
No, that's a, allegory for anal sex, right?
Okay, anyway. But the colors haven't peaked yet, baby, I said, watching him neatly lick sauce from his long
But it's late September, right?
Yeah, it should be brown down there.
I was thinking fall colors of leaves, but, yeah. Claude looked at me. I'm aware of that, but it's such a lovely place. All those hills and forests. I can't think of a more pleasant way to spend a Saturday afternoon. With that, he rose from the table, because he didn't finish his plate, I guess, walked over to the sink and washed his hands. Just now?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter where or how, Denisha, just as long as I'm able to spend time with you, my dear.
I responded, while clearing the remains of our supper. How about just knocking about town tomorrow? Sure, wander through Broad Ripple, whatever you fancy.
Sounds delightful, he murmured softly. He kissed me and led me back into the living room. We cuddled in front of the fireplace, then one thing led to the other. For obvious reasons, dear reader, Frollo Freak would rather not go into details. This is the mature content that we warned you about.
Right.
You tease.
Oh my goodness. And it's just, whenever authors do that in the middle of a story, it just grates me so bad. You don't put author's notes in the middle of a story.
No. Because it breaks, shit, I can't think of the word. It's the whole reason, yes, it's the whole reason Poe wrote short stories, so that you could read it in one sitting without breaking immersion. That's what I was trying to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, because if you read until the middle of the story and put it down, when you picked it back up, you wouldn't have that same gripping suspense as you would have if you'd read it all the way through.
I haven't written fanfic in years, except for the last one, that one about Link and the Great Deku Tree.
It was nearly dawn. I awoke and watched Claude Frollo as he slept. By the way, giving me flashbacks to Half-Life Full Life Consequences because you keep using his full name.
Yeah.
You may as well be saying John Freeman every time.
Also, where's the concern about what's going on in the past? Wouldn't they be, frantic and looking for him? If he wasn't in his quarters or doing his daily duties?
They often thought that for?
The thing is, depending on whether they actually do time travel correctly, when you return to that point in time, as far as they're concerned, you basically never left.
You said it depends on if they're using time travel correctly. How do you know?
That's classified.
Okay.
He'd have to kill you.
Or, but if I wipe out your lineage before you're born, did I really kill you?
Yes, I'm not existing anymore. I'm dead. Yes, you killed me.
Okay, I mean, yeah. Okay. Wow, that took a lot less philosophical time than I thought. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and now I don't want to do it anymore, so that's probably good. It was nearly dawn. I awoke and watched John Freeman as he slept. How peaceful, how utterly adorable he looks, I thought as I gently stroked his soft gray hair and traced his handsome features. Is that a paragraph break or not?
No.
Okay. My mind raced back to that summer. Images of me, Claude, and Quasimodo. Now I'm picturing them all in swim trunks. Flashed before me. And then there was Fern. Oh, Fern. Oh, that Fern. My old friend and colleague who, along with others, was instrumental in bringing Claude and me together. It's Claude and I. What I thought was just another wildly imaginative fantasy brought on by too much heat and humidity became all too real. And then we faced full life consequences.
My flashback was interrupted by Claude's stirring. Oh, Nisha, darling. He began as he stretched his long, lean body.
I responded as I rolled back closer to him.
Good morning, my love, softly said, kissing my lips. How long have you been awake? It's not quite dawn yet. I haven't finished. Could you go back to sleep?
Oh, wow. Okay, anyway. Not long, Claude. Just long enough to remember... ...
Claude finished my sentence. When we met, how we fell in love.
What you were doing while I was sleeping?
Uh-huh.
He said, smiling but slightly uneasy all the same.
Oh, just about how things work out. We didn't hit it off right away. In fact, I made you mad several times, which isn't hard. Such as that time I smashed your window.
Claude exploded with laughter and relief. Oh, that. Please don't remind me. You were very apologetic, but you displayed what's your word, sassy? You showed a sassy side, which at the time I did not find so amusing.
Well, it could have been worse. She could have showed her gassy side.
Take a ride on the sassy side.
I found out you really cared for me. Sorry to Claude's sassiness at all, I said as I kissed his cheek.
Claude Frollo just smiled and closed his eyes. Let me sleep a little longer, darling. I normally don't get the luxury.
His voice trailed off as he snuggled next to me, and I drifted back to sleep. I cradled him as he slept, and my mind wandered back to the images of a 1990s American woman and a very complex 1480s Parisian man.
Complex.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. No. I got excited for a second. I thought I saw paragraph breaks. But
No.
Nope, I was wrong.
No, more scene breaks as opposed to... But anyway.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 of Back to the Frollo. It was well after I had already showered.
It's spelled right, showered.
I know, I'm just dumb. I had already showered and dressed, taking great care not to awaken Claude. Poor baby, he was so upset and needed his rest. He usually doesn't sleep long past sunup. He really needed the rest. There was no need to prepare breakfast until he got up, because I, couldn't do something nice that would be ready for him when he was ready to be awake. So I tiptoed downstairs and put on a pot of coffee. Maybe I should start some of the morning meal, I thought again, as I rifled through the fridge. That's it, I'll fix him one of those down-home Saturday morning breakfasts. Country ham, grits, fried apples, hot biscuits, yummy.
Have you never had fried apples?
I don't think so.
Fried apples are pretty good, but they're more of a dessert.
Hey, dessert for breakfast is okay.
Well, I was going to say fried apples and biscuits, that probably would make sense if it's a dessert.
It's just like, just in case you forgot, I'm a black woman from the South.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about the grits. I've never really had grits. I'm more of a gravy kind of person, but I'll eat.
Yeah, but all of those foods are very stereotypical Southern foods.
Yeah. I mean, we eat them with the exception of the fried apples. I've never heard of that.
Fried apples are good. If you haven't had them, you're missing out.
The first time I fixed Claude such a breakfast was after that first night. I still reel from the memory. Promise I cooked for him, and when he sat down to that feast, he said, "My dear, I usually don't eat this much in the morning. It all looks so wonderfully delicious. Well, since you went to all this trouble, I simply can't refuse."
You better not refuse, Claude Frollo. Oh, wait. That's her. No, it's him.
No, we're just cloning Scarface left and right.
Is it? Who's the character? Okay, yeah. I thought she had talked in the last paragraph. No, it was him. Okay, no, okay. You better not refuse, Claude Frollo. I got up extra early to cook all of this food. Besides, you need refueling after last night. I playfully scolded him. He was just smiling and replied teasingly. Oh, it's him now, okay. Last night's activity? Yes, poetry reading and singing. So many lovely songs to be somewhat draining. I think I did an extra one. Sorry.
You did. It's okay.
It's fine. Why don't you just go ahead and finish off that scene?
With that, Claude and I burst into laughter and shared a hearty meal. It was to be the beginning of a very... I thought it already began.
Yeah,
already in
really.
The beginning of a very special relationship.
I think she's bubbling to the past in that little scene.
Oh, I see. That's what the asterisk is.
I was gonna say, if there's something wrong if you think that boinking is the start of a relationship.
Well, it's sort of a sexual one, probably, but not a romantic one.
Well, not a relationship in general, is what I'm getting at.
True.
Mm-hmm.
My mind was jarred back to the present when I heard Claude come downstairs. Our breakfast was nearly ready as I poured coffee when he entered the kitchen. He was fully dressed, not in his casual. It was not casual.
No.
That was very formal, office-holding medieval attire. Anyway, but a modern ensemble of tight black jeans. Yeah.
I could see a 70-year-old man wanting to wear tight black jeans.
A black and purple silk shirt and black boots.
It's so tight it hugs every wrinkle.
Yes. He looked fantastic. He looked at me and said, "These pants aren't actually corduroy." I'm just so insufferably pleased with myself thanks to that reaction. He looked fantastic. Oh yes, I thought. Black is definitely his color. Well, it better be,
Wink,
considering
wink,
how...
nudge, nudge.
Really highlights his coloring. Wait, highlights his coloring and form. So tall and slender, graceful and elegant. Kind of like a reed in the wind. Claude took me in his arms and kissed me tenderly.
Isn't like Claude Frollo like really pale though, or something?
Yes.
Doesn't make it any better.
Good morning, my darling Nisha.
Morning, baby. I thought you'd sleep later.
Good morning, baby.
I thought you would sleep later. This early. I returned the kiss and finished preparing our meal.
Claude sat at the table, sipped his coffee, and gazed at me. Oh, actually, I hadn't intended to sleep this late, but my body needed extra rest. He stopped himself as he continued to stare at me. Oh, Danisha, my dear, you look exceedingly becoming this morning. I like the outfit, the way it fits, the color. So many colors. Fucking
Of
acid.
the wind?
It's so funny because I was having a similar thought. He was commenting on my casual attire of purple jeans, black and purple sweater, and purple black suede shoes.
So
Purple,
much
purple,
black
purple,
and purple.
Are we sure these are not? They're not gothic right now?
Maybe they're
Yeah,
gothic.
she's goth and she likes death.
And
Anyway.
and I don't like to go to school.
And
Yes.
characters who are close to it.
So she went upstairs and casually slit her wrists.
And then drank all the blood.
But she
Casually.
didn't like it because it was colored red instead of purple.
Right. It was
My
a
hair
gothic.
was loosely tied back with a purple ribbon, and my ears sported oversized silver hoops. I hadn't planned on us being near today, but how was I to know we were going to wear the same colors? Pure coincidence.
I'm sure.
Oh.
No.
Claude smiled at me as I set breakfast before him. Your hair was longer, full of weaves and curls. Not that I don't find your current straight style more attractive.
It's actually waves and curls, but you're probably right.
Mhm.
You were wearing a long dress, he began. A righteous mix of colors. So,
Not purple.
yes.
Mount Purple.
I followed your curves, and I do believe there was a slit. You looked utterly delicious, because
Dude, that makes you sound like a perv.
Well, he kind of is. I mean,
But that makes him sound like wanting,
Mhm.
as opposed to, just hinting at shit.
Began eating as I responded grinning. Slit on the side clean past the meat. I saw you trying to get a better look. Too bad we didn't click right away.
Smiling broadly, he buttered a biscuit. Claude said, "Oh, Denisha, I fell for you the moment I saw you. Your beauty charmed my eye, my sweetness, but the beast within was a bit hard to take on." Go ahead, talk.
Immersed in memories, John Freeman and I enjoyed our breakfast and engaged in a lively conversation of how it all.
Or just a
Six chapters too late.
yeah.
Origin paragraph.
My initial arrival in Paris was a blast. Literally.
Kaboom!
Story's over.
It was the earth-shattering kaboom.
Where's the kaboom?
We're not that fortunate.
We're not. And I have said that before myself.
Old friend and mentor, Fern, no last name given, had asked me to accompany her on a special summer trip. And since Fern had hit the lottery and won all that lovely money, I thought, hey,
Of course you did.
someplace really classy and expensive. My bubble almost burst when I found myself riding in a 1959 Chevy Impala, jet black, all fully restored and equipped with a curious device that Fern said was a surprise. So we're driving down this deserted country road. The firm said she needed the room, and besides, I don't need no audience.
I thought the time machine was a Camry.
Where we're going, we don't need audiences.
Maybe she got her own later in life. I don't know.
Maybe.
Room? No audience? What in the flippity-floppity flu you talking about, Fern?
What you talking about, Fern? My questions were soon answered as Fern floored the accelerator and shouted, "Hold on and shield your peepers!"
Like some
What
old
kind of-
country prospector.
That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say. I'm like, what kind of person is this Fern?
Hold on there, Babaloo.
Hold on there, doggy.
So far, in this house we stand firm.
The last thing I remember was a bright white light and a weird whirring sound. When I opened my eyes, why am I speaking with a country accent now? We were traveling down a narrow dirt road.
Where are we? I asked, now confused and bewildered. Make that medieval Paris, Fern announced proudly, adding, I'll explain later.
No, explain fucking now. Like, where the hell did you get this?
Right?
Like,
No,
did you just find it in a junkyard or some shit?
I don't like how the story keeps, like, breaking back and forth like this. I wish it just kept...
it doesn't really flow well. And also, insert my earlier rant back in the Emily H. days about how every time you have a new person speaking, you need a paragraph break, or else it confuses everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But to explain the time machine, I mean, Disney just recently acquired Fox. So
Okay.
Oh no.
I finished clearing away the remains of breakfast as Claude refilled our coffee cups. I continued to reminisce as we moved to the backyard deck. Claude admired my backyard garden with its fall flowers and the leaves just beginning to peek. It was a beautiful fall morning, not too warm, but not too cold.
You know, Claude, I began, I really thought I was dreaming. I thought it was all just another crazy heat-induced fantasy. Boy, was I wrong that I wasn't dying. It was all so real.
Claude reached out and held my hand. My darling, I'm so glad you accepted Fern's invitation. I'm also glad you decided to stay in Paris after that unfortunate incident.
Fern's dead.
Otherwise, I would not be here reveling in your breathtaking beauty. I was so moved by what he said that I felt like crying. Claude sensed my mood and put his arm around me.
Fern left just before that episode. Honestly, baby, in the kids, I would have been long gone. When that ball went sailing through your window.
Claude Frollo kissed my lips. A nice long kiss. I'll never forget your apologies, my love. Nor will I forget what happened afterwards.
I definitely remember what happened afterward. Totally not making this shit up. And Claude was right. I almost left Paris for good after the incident, as we now call it. And come to think of it, it was so petty, so stupid.
We sat on a bench beneath a tall old oak. It just happens to be in my backyard, I guess. Claude held me close, whispered, I love you in my ear, and kissed me tenderly. We have to be told this. We can't just have it happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's always so patient and sweet with me. Well, most of the time. But it sure didn't start out that way.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh.
It had been just another Saturday. Became a weekend to remember. Claude Frollo and I spent the day exploring my favorite North Side haunts. Insisted we do things my way. Through antique shops, bookstores, and other out-of-the-ordinary places in Broad Ripple Village. North Side neighborhood known for its quirky, funky ambience. I treated Claude to a nice lunch at Renee's, one of my favorite Ripple eateries. A cozy little place known for its unique French country decor and scrumptious homemade desserts.
Because, of course, since he comes from Paris, he would love to go to an Americanized French country. Afterwards, we took a long walk along the Monon Trail, which winded through Ripple and across the canal. This used to be a railroad? Asked Claude as we strolled leisurely. Yes, it used to go from downtown to Munich. In my old neighborhood down by the fairgrounds, the house was just a few blocks away from the track. But the train stopped running and they took up the track. Now it's a walking trail. I walk here a lot. I think it's neat to walk. I love walking on the trail, the walking trail. We call it a walking trail because people walk on it. It used to be a train track, but it's now a walking trail. I love to.
It's fine. Keep going.
Now I'm done.
Okay. I put my arm around his slender waist as we continued our walk.
On the trail.
Oh, yes, on the trail. That used to be train tracks, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Claude seemed truly fascinated by my little history lesson. It's amazing, he began, how much we remember special places and things.
I would think he'd be more amazed by the fact trains are a thing.
Yeah. Claude's voice trailed off as if he was lost in thought. Suddenly he asked, "Have you heard from her lately?"
I knew he was referring to Fern. Now, Claude, you know we're still friends. We talk, visit, do all kinds of things together. Fern may be a little richer, because she didn't share the wealth, I guess.
I guess.
But she's still my buddy.
Are we sort of suggesting that she's her Thelma to her Louise?
Claude Frollo stopped and looked at me intently. I'd never properly thanked her for bringing you to Paris.
I looked at him with raised eyebrows. Say what, honey? If Fern had stayed when the unfortunate incident happened, quotation marks in the air, you would have showed both of us the way out of town. And I don't think we would have been upright.
Fair. That sounds in character for Frollo to just kill y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Claude burst into laughter.
Because that was so funny, like the fact that we would have been dead.
I almost murdered you.
Ho, 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 ho.
Oh, we were such children.
Darling Nisha, our first few meetings weren't that In fact, those initial encounters were rather surprisingly smoldering. I literally burst into flame.
I burst into hellfire!
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, really? Well, baby, let me refresh your memory.
As we continued our walk, Claude and I recalled that first encounter. Why couldn't you just go straight to it?
Because I'm a lazy son of a bitch that doesn't want to focus on that.
Yeah, why didn't we do this part first? Fern finally had to explain the device that whisked us to medieval Paris. Apparently, it was the invention of one of Fern's former students, Jackie Darcy. You know Jackie Darcy from downtown. A math and science whiz who I always said would come up with something fabulous. Jackie was always working out formulas and sketching plans for fantastical inventions. It all paid off as Jackie, as a gift to Fern, restored the '59 Chevy and installed a time warp device.
No, not like he would show this off to science or anything. No, he'd just give it to his former teacher.
Or, like, make serious bank off of it.
Right.
But I was too flabbergasted to think about inventions and breakthroughs. I was in 1480s Paris and I couldn't even send a postcard home.
No shit.
Well, I mean, you could if you had the post office hold on to it for a few hundred years. But Fern had a house in town, but Really? Okay. but stashed the car near some old chateau on the outskirts of Paris, and she made sure my stay would be unforgettable, because it wasn't already, as we explored every inch of this fantastic city. All the historical and literary landmarks, and all the human waste and all of the garbage that I only read about in school were right outside our front door.
Of course, we made friends in the neighborhood, although I wasn't sure at first how folks would take to an oversized, frizzy, red blonde-haired Hoosier?
Hoosier.
What the hell is that?
I
I'll
can't
look it up.
remember. It's people who are from a specific place from the South. I remember.
Native or inhabitant of Indiana.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay? With a hillbilly twang and a smart-mouthed, brown-skinned woman who came along for the bribe. In fact, they probably would have grabbed their pitchforks and tried to kill y'all, but okay.
If they saw the time machine, certainly.
Well, I'm assuming they're also not properly dressed or speaking French.
Right. At the very least, there would be a language barrier.
As Fern said, I am a true American child, with English, Irish, Cherokee, and African running through my veins. You are the definition of melting pot.
You had some horny parents.
The good folks of Paris had a tough time trying to figure me out. Well, gee, folks, if you can't figure out what I am, just keep trying. 'Cause that'll fix itself in the end, right?
This is so
Right.
weird right now. But anyway, we made a few friends, and I became popular with the kids in the neighborhood. I let them play games with them and taught them what I played when I was a kid. You're gonna mess up the timeline, okay? Sisters in the square near the Palace of Justice, and we'd enjoy hours and hours of fun. It was during one of those playtimes I met him.
We were just wrapping up an intense game of Red Rover, and after the kids went home, I decided to take a walk across the square toward the palace. A weird dog was barking in the background. I'd never seen it close up and decided to check it out. Now, I was unaware that my hips swayed as I walked, and I had an old Al Green song playing in my head, and that the slit on my dress blew open in the breeze. I sat down on a stoop within eyeshot of the palace colonnade and studied the building, admiring the stained glass windows, tall spires, and colonnade, the previously mentioned colonnade. I had just crossed my legs and unwrapped my hair when I spotted a figure upon the colonnade, where we take a walk on a trail.
Even from ground level, I could make out most of his face and tall and slender, very regal and aristocratic looking. I could see his triangular hat, the long red veil flowing in the breeze. Gray-haired, fair-faced, from where I stood he looked rather handsome. Then I realized that the person I was staring at was none other than Claude Frollo, the Minister of Justice. I had heard rumors about him from our neighbors that he was cruel and cold. Come on, he's a judge in charge of keeping the streets safe. He's just trying to do his job, and just as long as I stay out of trouble, which you haven't been doing, by the way, he's the least of my worries. But something inside me stirred as I continued to stare up at him. I offered him a bright smile and friendly wave.
No, he wasn't trying to keep shit safe. He was an asshole. It was made abundantly clear in the movie he was an asshole.
You know this fanfic is gonna try to
I know.
change that.
It's gonna give him a troubled past where his mother and father beat him or something, and it's all the blame of society.
What's this? He's smiling back and nodding as if he acknowledged my presence. Is he staring at my legs? I knew I shouldn't have worn this dress.
I hastily retied my hair and adjusted the straps of my high-heeled sandals.
What?
I had during the games, but put them on just before my walk. I glanced up at the colonnade, but he was gone. My heart sank a bit at the realization that I might never encounter him again.
She's dressing to period, right? I got up and began to walk back to the house when a soldier tapped me on the shoulder.
Excuse me, madam. What have I done? Is it a crime to walk, sit, or play near the Palace of Justice? I can't even look at Judge Frollo? All these thoughts raced through my mind as the soldier continued. You are not in trouble, madame. I am not arresting you. It is just that Minister Frollo wishes to meet you. This way, madam.
Frollo wants to meet me? Why? Oh, no! What if he found out about Fern in the car?
It's not like you haven't been covering it up.
No, well, not very well. We'd be branded as lunatics for sure, or even worse, witches. My heart pounded as I followed the soldier up the steps and through the grand entry hall. My French had passed with the kids outside, so now we're bringing up the language barrier. Now it had to stand up to conversation with the most powerful man in France next to the king himself.
As I entered, my eyes were dazzled by high-vaulted ceilings, soft-colored walls, gorgeous tapestries, and marble floors. The room and told me to wait. It looked like a study full of with shelves full of books, piles of papers on the table, paintings and tapestries on the wall. I was admiring one of these textile marvels, studying the stitches and feeling the softness of the fabric, when I heard a deep voice behind me.
I hope I didn't frighten you by sending that soldier, but it was the only way I could finally meet you. He extended his hand. I'm Claude Frollo. What's your name, honey?
I reached for his hand and told him my name. I'm Denisha Wood. My family and friends call me Nisha. He smiled broadly and softly replied, Lovely. I've watched you for several days now. You were in the square with the children playing games.
Keeping them off the streets and out of trouble, I finished. Claude Frollo smiled again and narrowed his eyes, as if he were assessing me. I like the way you carry yourself, very self-assured, no nonsense. And while I don't exactly show it, I marvel at your way with the children.
I returned the smile, saying, Just doing what is necessary. To tell you the truth, I can't go anywhere without some kid latching onto me.
Like a parasite. At once, Judge Frollo burst into hearty laughter. Yeah, well, my instincts about you are right. You intrigued me. I liked you the moment I laid eyes on you.
He put his hand on my shoulder and gazed into my eyes. I felt a shockwave of emotion run through my body when he touched me. Nothing or no one had ever before affected me in such a way.
Mr. Frollo, I'm flattered that you're interested in me as a friend. Ooh, you might not want to say that to him, of all people.
Friend-zoned.
But I'm only going to be in Paris for a few weeks, then I'm going home in August.
He's on a rest. And where is home?
I'm an American from the Midwest.
Nice cover story, genius. He looked blank. Then I remembered that the American continent had only just been discovered for him, and probably not even named yet. Oops! I mean, I'm from the New World, I corrected myself hastily. Columbus? The Spanish sailor? Cristoforo Colombo? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I used to watch Cristoforo Colombo. He used to solve crimes, right?
He nodded, then raised an eyebrow. The New World. That explains your accent. Your French is fluent enough, but rather harsh on Persian ears. Parisian? Whatever. So you are not a gypsy, then? But do all New Worlders have such coloring? That beautiful brown skin, I thought.
France is connected by land after. There's...
Wait a minute, I interrupted him. You thought I was a gypsy? What's next? Are you gonna accuse me of practicing black magic? Really ticked. I wanted to be friends, but I didn't feel like I had to pass a test or something. None of my French, my looks, or anything else. I really want to know how I became a dissed sister, a raised voice full of fire and spit. I don't think he knew what hit him.
Wow. So she gets angry easily, apparently.
Why'd you invite me here then? You wanted to find out if I'm illegal? Well, I'm not a gypsy, I'm not a witch. Now I know a few folks who dabble in voodoo, but that doesn't mean I'm
You don't want to admit that right now!
Right?
Oopsie doodle. I really thought you wanted to be friends, but you just wasted my time. There I go now.
Wow, the disrespect! Your ass would be in the dungeon now.
After he'd got over my outburst, John Freeman suddenly changed from charming host, angered official. How dare you talk to me in that tone? Count yourself fortunate that I don't have you arrested on the spot. He headed for the door and motioned to a nearby soldier.
My lieutenant shall show you out, he said as he seated himself at his desk. I must say, Mademoiselle Wood, I am highly disappointed. You seemed so charming. Well, no matter.
As I walked out the door, I heard him say to me, Just a word of warning, my dear mademoiselle. Make one false move, and you're mine.
Once outside, I shuddered at the thought of what could have happened once the clutches of Judge Claude Frollo. Once in the clutches of Judge Once outside, I shuddered at the thought of what could happen once in the clutches of Judge Claude Frollo. Then I thought, who cares? I'll be long gone soon enough. Come September, I'll be home, he'll still be here, and we'll never cross paths again.
As I walked away from the Palace of Justice, I looked back and saw his tall form in the window. He was looking down on me, not exactly frowning, but not smiling either. He looked rather like a little boy who didn't get his way. Now I wish I hadn't sassed him. For some reason I could hardly figure out I really wanted to be his friend.
This was the trouble you guys were talking about? Oh, when we first met, the flames. No, just a little encounter. But Kassie, I'm going to take off as well.
Okay.
I've got several things to do today.
Alrighty.
But I did want to leave all of you with these parting words. Fight song minstrels, flipping sacrilegious Martians, flabbergasted suckmonk, fashionable singing mutations, Fuji Santa Museum, flaming suicidal Mandalorian, fingering sodomy militia, fucking shit mittens, and fun suckable melons. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Dave.
A few moments later.
Dear readers, before Frollo Free continues her tale, she'd like to clarify a few things. The character of Fern is based on a former co-worker. She's fat, funny, has that hoser twang.
Hoosier.
Sure. And is oh so brilliant. I'm saying that totally in a not condescending way. Thanks, Judy. I could always count on a laugh when the going got rough. Jackie is based on two former students who are truly whizzes at math and science. These guys are so smart it's scary. Who knows? Maybe they just might invent something like Fern's device. Smiley face. Oh well, on with the story, peasants.
She does sound like she'd call everyone peasants, honestly.
Well, especially with the way I'm reading it, so.
Quasi, as I reached for the little hand-carved wooden figure of what looked like General Grant. Grant's beard's a little too bushy. He's starting to look like Gabby Hayes. What?
I don't know who that is.
Gabby who? Replied Quasimodo blankly.
Never mind. Here, look at the picture.
Wait, he can't hear, though. Well, I guess he could in the movie.
Never read the book.
Well, I'm sure that the person who has never read Hunchback of Notre Dame, that thing's like 3 inches thick, and I doubt they have the attention span.
We read it in middle school. It was probably an abridged version, but, I mean, we still read it.
Well, yeah, but you and I actually read things when we were kids.
When I was a kid, honestly, I didn't actually read a lot. It was when I got older, I was just like, I'm gonna read a bunch of books, and so I did. Caleb History, yay!
Yay! Never mind. Here, look at the picture. Are you sure you want to do this? It's a lot of work, I said as I handed Quasi a picture books of the Civil War.
A picture book.
The Civil War.
Yes.
She's messing up history right now.
Yup.
I had been spending a lot of time in the bell tower of Notre Dame ever since that first botched encounter with Claude Frollo. Huh? How did you get up there? Since when did you meet Quasimodo? How have you not seen Frollo since?
Maybe she hides, I don't know.
I felt really bad about going off on him those few days ago, but I never told a soul about our meeting. I just figured that if I stayed out of his way and kept my mouth shut, things would cool off and maybe we could try to be friends. With the wall of text, it's hard to figure out where the next line is.
I went to Notre Dame the day after my encounter with Frollo. It was there I met Quasimodo, the cathedral's bell ringer. By his sweetness and gentleness, I was not put off by his deformities. Quasi showed me his bell tower home, the townspeople he carved himself. I complimented him on his talent, and he seemed fascinated by my interest as he noted seeing me in the square with the kids.
I soon found myself lunging American literature and history books up the steps leading to the bell tower. For several days, I enthralled Quasi with the stories of the Civil War, American folk heroes, the Underground Railroad. He especially liked the African-American tales of John Henry and High John the Conqueror. He decided he wanted, as a gift to me, to carve a Civil War battle scene, completed with Lee, Grant, and Union and Confederate troops. I thought this was a weird, but I indulged Quasi.
She's wrecking the timeline as we know it.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
I haven't heard that since middle school.
I don't mind doing things for people I care about, Quasi said as he painted a new figure, Abe Lincoln. When you're stuck up here alone, you have nothing but a lot of free time, so might as well do something to keep yourself occupied. And happy, he smiled as he wrapped another day's as we wrapped another day's activities.
In wrapping paper, newspaper, twine...
Sellotape.
I didn't want to stay too long, as Quasi expected Claude Frollo any time. My visits with Quasimodo always ended with me hastily exiting as soon as Frollo entered the cathedral. I hated doing this, and so did Quasi. He told me how Frollo adopted him when Quasi's mama didn't want him. Frollo took me in when no one else would, but he's very strict about me leaving the bell tower or having visitors.
Oh, Quasi, maybe it's best that I don't hang around when he comes to see you. I surely don't want to get us in trouble. I packed up some books, hugged Quasi goodbye, and started down the tower steps. Woo! Just another hour, and this time I didn't have to rush. My thoughts were then focused on Quasi's mini battleground. I suppressed a giggle, think of all these tiny cannons and rifles, and little soldiers in blue and gray, hidden where Frollo wouldn't discover it.
I had to take my shoes off because all these steps and high heels were a dangerous combination. Just a few more steps and you're home free, I thought as I juggled shoes and books. I was within 3 steps of the ground floor when I dropped my shoe and a couple of books. I made it to the bottom and said, as I sat down to put on my shoes, a tall figure approached me. He picked up my books and looked at the titles. Interesting. The speeches of Abraham Lincoln, the Civil War. He knew enough English to pronounce the words exactly. Such intellectual pursuits for one so beautiful. I looked up and found myself staring into the eyes of Judge Claude Frollo.
Oh no, I thought he's going to arrest me for sure, probably visiting. I like reading New World history, I hastily explained. It's the New World! You don't know its history!
Well,
Anyway.
Maybe he doesn't know that yet. Maybe, as long as he doesn't flip open the book and see 18 anything in there, maybe we're okay.
Well, the problem is, it's going to be like glossy photographs, and he's going to be like, hell are these?
True.
I liked reading New World history. I hastily took back my books and placed them in my bag. I expected him to laugh and tell me that my country was too young to have any kind of history, but he didn't. Instead, John Freeman knelt down and assisted me with my shoes. I tried to protest, but he smiled at me so sweetly, his hands cradled my foot so gently I couldn't say a word.
I'm totally gonna forget that you were a giant dick to me when we last spoke, and I am a man of very high status that was very gracious not to immediately arrest you and kill your ass. But we're just gonna ignore that now, I guess. He spoke softly. You should be careful wearing such shoes as these. He looked at me squarely in the eyes and said, We don't want you seriously injured. By the way, Mademoiselle Wood, if I offended you.
You mean what happened a few days ago? No, Minister Frollo, I'm the one who should apologize. I had no business going off on you like that.
Claude Frollo smiled again as he helped me to my feet. Well, no matter. What's done is done. I still watch you at play with children.
'Cause I'm creepy.
I'm still intrigued by you. That I've been espied some of your reading material. You arouse my curiosity even more.
Then Frollo's voice trailed off as he drew closer to me. He still looked at me straight in the eyes as if he were searching for something inside me. You were up in the bell tower, visiting Quasimodo, he said at last, his eyes never wavering.
Quasi is my friend. He likes me to read to him. He's fascinated by New World history and literature. He likes poetry and folk tales the best. I hope you don't mind me coming to see him.
I wondered if Claude Frollo would suddenly become angry that Quasi and I had become close friends. What was to come next proved me right, for Claude Frollo continued to gaze into my eyes and coolly said, Quasimodo is different. I don't want his head filled with ideas that may give him false hopes.
How can he do this? How could he stand there, be so sweet and attentive one moment, and then turn into the Ice King the next? I was beginning to believe all the rumors about Claude Frollo's cruel coolness, that he was too wrapped up in himself to even notice what people actually think of him. I shot him a long, hard look, and in my best,
Sister with attitude.
sister with attitude with said voice. I don't think Quasi is as different as you make him out to be. You're selling the poor boy too short. I'm going to try to make his day a little brighter, that's all. As for filling his head with ideas, so what? New ideas aren't going to hurt him, if you asked me. Reading a little Lincoln or Frederick Douglass is not going to turn Quasi into a raving radical overnight. I don't see why you're so fired up mad about me spending a little time with him.
It's not going to turn him into a radical overnight, but it's going to turn him into a raving radical, just so you're aware.
John Freeman immediately lashed out at me. Have you forgotten my warnings? You shall pay dearly for your insolence. How I rear Quasimodo is no concern of yours.
You said pretty much the same thing, except the words were changed a little bit.
He reached out as if to grab my arm, but I quickly stepped back.
Minister Frollo, is it true you can't arrest me here? I announced in my raised voice. Some of the priests and parishioners heard me as I continued my little routine.
That's right. I heard the Archdeacon tell someone once they are granted sanctuary, you can't touch them. I'm going to sit right here and there's nothing you can do about it.
But have you been granted sanctuary, is the thing.
Apparently.
Minister Frollo glared hard at me and started to say something, but I quickly continued my tirade. And where do you get off being so nice, just to cut me down? I don't know what your problem is, but it's not right. I thought we could be friends, but I guess I was wrong. I sat down on the stone floor and glared at him.
You said this last time as well. You're just reusing the same bullshit, dude. Try something new.
John Freeman stared right back at me. His eyes registered a curious mixture of anger and pain. Yes, pain. It was more than just humiliation. I think I actually hurt him with this. I did it again. I let my mouth get the best of me, and now I just may have lost a potential friend. Mama always told me my mouth would get me in trouble, and it did.
What is with the going back and forth? If he's being an asshole, you should treat him like an asshole. If he's not being an asshole, don't treat him like Just before Frollo turned to ascend the bell tower steps, I knelt down before me and said in a surprising calm voice, I don't believe in second chances. Where'd this come from? If I had my way, I'd arrest you. Oh, he's saying this. I thought she was for some reason. If I had my way, I'd arrest you here and now. Unfortunately, I have no authority here. He gently stroked my cheek. But somehow I cannot see your glorious honey-brown skin spoiled by whip marks, or that beautiful neck snapped in a hangman's noose. This guy is fucking creepy. Why is he the love interest?
I know, right?
If this was a horror story, this would be great dialogue.
True.
I know, right?
True. I would fully support this if we were painting this guy as just the crazy, lustful dude that he is.
Right.
But I guess that would be too close to the actual story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Can't have that now.
We might actually be cultured, and we don't want that. His voice softened to a whisper. Oh, Danisha, my dear. So we're just gonna drop calling her by her last name.
We've never been calling her by her last name.
He has in the past. When they first met and up until this point.
Oh no, you're right. He called her Mademoiselle Wood. I forgot.
Danisha, my dear, You have the most beautiful brown eyes.
I didn't know what to think of this sudden change in mood.
Neither do we.
Surprise and confusion. Minister Frollo, what are you saying?
Claude Frollo gently held my hand and fingered a lock of my hair. I'm saying that I'm letting you go. I can't believe I'm saying those words, but there's something about you. He stood up quickly, composed himself in a commanding voice, said, You've been warned, my dear. Those who disregard my authority will clearly pay. Now, get out of my sight.
Dickweed. I blinked as he left, but I wasn't mistaken. John Freeman had given me a quick wink before heading up the bell tower steps. And was that a slight smile I detected? No, you're full of delusions. That's what I believe.
Well, if he did have a slight smile, it was a creepy fucking one after everything he just said.
Yeah. I didn't know what came over him, but it got me off the hook. Of course, I still had the rest of June and all of July in Paris.
Are you dim-witted?
Big enough for the both of us?
My head hurts. As I walked out of the cathedral, I lifted my eyes heavenward. Oh, please, I prayed. Let the rest of my vacation be without mishaps. And please don't let Claude Frollo be mad at me anymore. Or, just get your friend, explain the situation, jump back in your car, and get the hell out of there.
Go somewhere else
Right.
instead.
Yeah, go someplace less stinky.
Go to the wrong 20, that's where it's at. Claude Frollo stood on the parking deck and stared out across the canal. I was very angry with you and had every intention of punishing you, he said as I unlocked the car door. I couldn't bring myself to.
His voice quivered as he embraced me. I could feel what I thought were tears. Claude, I whispered softly, are you okay, baby? What the fuck?
We're in the present now, if you're confused. We're in the present now.
It's still dumb. But
Yes, yes.
Are you okay, baby?
Because a guy from medieval Paris would talk like that, especially a priest.
Please don't step on my blue suede shoes.
Claude looked into my eyes, almost the same way he looked at me that day in the cathedral. Dionysia, my dear, I fell in love with you the moment I saw you, and even though you mad at me with all your sassiness, I like the word. Claude sweetly kissed my lips and continued, Oh. Let me just go get that bleach.
Okay.
Excuse me.
At any rate, we managed to forgive each other and become friends. And much. He kissed me again.
Claude, you forgot that I almost left Paris for good because I started to clarify a few key things when Claude Frollo interrupted me. Now, my love, he laughingly said as we got in the car, the entire incident wasn't all that disastrous. You admitted your guilt and I reacted, that's all.
You're acting all right, sugar, I said, while starting the engine. Then, in a quieter voice, I didn't know what to think. I was confused, angry. All I wanted to do was to get out of Paris and get me Evermint.
Claude leaned over and kissed my cheek. I'm glad you stayed. I don't know what I would have done without you. He kissed me again and then leaned back and smiled broadly. Well, no matter. We're together now. He pursed his lips in an imaginary kiss and his deepest, sultry voice asked, Now, my sweet darling Nisha, where to next?
Wow. I smiled back at him, returned the air kiss, and said, Do you like spiced apple cider and gingerbread? Well, who the hell doesn't?
Not me?
I don't think
What?
I've ever had gingerbread.
Ever?
I'm pretty sure I haven't had gingerbread.
Man, you're kind of
What
missing
kind
out
of
on
life you live?
I think I've had either, actually. Apple cider or gingerbread.
Apple
Maybe
cider
apple
is pretty much like warmed up apple juice.
Spiced apple cider is the bee's knees.
I know someone likes sparkling apple cider.
John Freeman grinned and ran his tongue over his lips, saying, So much spice in one weekend sounds oh so delicious. I giggled softly and kissed his lips.
As we traveled northward towards Lily Orchard, Claude once again... Beep beep. once again reminded me of an unforgettable incident that nearly ended a special relationship.
I'm coming down there and I'm stealing the car. I have to go now. Bye.
Bye.
At least you don't have to find a horn sound anymore.
Beep,
See you later.
beep.
Beep, beep, I'm
Yeah.
a Jeep.
So we finally met him, eh? chuckled Fern as I mentioned my first few meetings with Claude Frollo. She kept laughing as I helped her unload supplies from a wagon. One nice thing about Jackie's invention was that we were able to travel back and forth through time and space with little trouble. Fern and I had just returned from a special shopping trip back home. We had to stock up on things that we couldn't possibly get in 15th century France: corn, sweet potatoes, sugar, coffee, and other foods we took for granted in our own time. We were getting somewhat homesick. We even brought back some record music. This was Fern's idea. Though I was apprehensive about bringing the CDs, Jackie had rigged a special device on a boombox so we could listen to record music whenever we wanted. I never asked Jackie how it worked. Must have been solar powered since we obviously had no electricity.
It's
All I
clearly
knew-
magic.
It was mad. All I knew was it worked. So now I had my Motown and R&B, and Ferd had his country tunes. We had to either keep the volume down or listen with headphones. We would have had a lot of explaining to do if we ever got caught, and I knew what the charges would be: witchcraft.
I never told Fern everything about my encounters with Frollo, nor did I tell her my true feelings for the Minister of Justice. That I was gradually falling in love with him, and he didn't even know. Period. Fern just gave me a stern warning. Please try to stay out of trouble, especially if it involves Minister Frollo. Oh, also, don't fuck up the timeline by falling in love with him. She looked at me intently. I'd hate to tell your folks that their darling daughter's, tied up in Paris and won't be returning home. She then embraced me, chuckling in that southern Indiana twang. Girlfriend, if you want to be friendly with the likes of Claude Frollo, that's your business. As Fern settled herself in the wagon and took the reins in hand, she said, It's weird, but it's your business. Just be careful. Don't worry about me, Fern, I said. I won't get in trouble. Fern left for that old chateau where she kept the '59 Chevy. She said she had to take care of some business. Odd, I thought. She never let me venture inside that magnificent house. I always had to stay outside while Fern readied the Chevy. The car remained secure in another building on the estate. How could she just stash the car on private property without permission? Why hasn't anyone discovered it by now? Why hasn't anyone questioned our comings and goings? And why were these trips always made at night?
Well, probably made at night to avoid detection of anybody trying to find this car and screwing you over because of said car. I pushed those thoughts from my mind as I pondered Fern's warning. Be careful. There was no need to be extra cautious around Claude Frollo anymore, as I encountered him several times since that odd business in the cathedral. Just pleasant small talk and a few smiles passed between us. Surprisingly, you didn't just shoot off into space in anger at him, but okay, nothing more. I really felt that we could finally become friends, because you would want to become friends with somebody that creepily mentioned about killing you. Yeah. What happened later that morning proved me right. A nice compliment and some home baking at last helped break the ice. Fern had brought back so many pecans, for some reason, that I decided to take advantage of the pleasant late June weather and do some baking. I baked a variety of wonderful things: cookies for the kids, a pie for Quasimodo. I then packed some cookies in a pretty tin for Minister Frollo. Okay. He should appreciate this. Maybe. Assuming he wouldn't think you poisoned them or something. That was a thing back in the day that people literally had to worry about. I must have had an attack of ESP, for that very moment Claude Frollo had just rode past our house. I immediately went to the door and started to call out to him. He must have sensed my presence as he circled back and stopped. He couldn't have sensed your presence if you called. Oh, well, you started to. Okay. Oh, he looked so handsome. He wasn't wearing the splendid black velvet judicial robe with its jewel-trimmed yoke and epaulets. Instead, he wore a casual hunter-style outfit complete with tall boots, tunic, form-fitting black hose? I'm assuming she means like a type of pants?
Like tights.
They wear tights back then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay. A sweeping cloak and the famous triangular hat with its long red veil. The entire ensemble fitted his tall, slender form perfectly. Claude Frollo smiled as he greeted me. Good morning, my dear, and what a good morning it is now that I have seen your charming face. I returned the smile, feeling a little silly, replied in a mock southern down on the old plantation dialect because
Oh no.
I am a fucking asshole. So if anybody I offend with this, I apologize. Morning, Mr. Frollo, sir. Much obliged. Y'all can stop by and set a spell. I have some powerful tasty pecan cake in yonder. Y'all show is welcomed. I am so sorry for that, guy.
Like I said, she is a caricature. Like, oh my goodness.
Well, at least she's not doing it constantly.
Yeah, and because what she already does is enough.
Yes. Claude Frollo couldn't stop laughing because somehow that was funny and he understood all of that.
Because none of that would translate to French.
Yeah. He dismounted and approached her. Is this the language of the New World? God, no. Please, no. Don't. Please. It's rather odd and harsh, he said as I welcomed him inside. Coming from you, my dear Mademoiselle Wood, is like pure music. Because it's odd and harsh. But it's music.
Right. That was perfect.
Skills me on the inside. I would be delighted to continue, Frollo, to partake some light refreshment, especially in the company of such a beautiful hostess. I tried to keep my nervousness from showing during Frollo's brief visit, but here he was, the Minister of Justice himself, sharing a piece of cake, a cup of lemonade, and a pleasant conversation. Frollo favorably commented on baking skills and developed a fondness for pecans that persists to this day. It was a pleasant, although short visit. My heart sank as I showed him to the door. Good-looking horse, Your Grace, I said as Frollo mounted that gorgeous black stallion. I handed over the tin of cookies. Percheron stallion, am I right? I asked. Claude Frollo grinned. You are as keenly observant as you are lovely. How did you know? My grandpa owned Belgians.
Not Belgian horses, Belgian people.
Oh.
Also Belgian waffles.
Belgian waffles, I replied. Oh, wait. I said Belgian waffles, I replied. And I just like big horses, I asked.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say no more. Welcome to the furry community. How are we?
Oh, man. No, you can't ask that, because once you're part of the furry community, you're beyond help.
Yes. I call him Snowball, replied His Grace.
So it's a big black horse that you named Snowball.
Uh-huh.
That's not even a French name. Like, why did you call the horse Snowball?
Yeah, I looked at Frollo quizzically. Minister Frollo, this horse is not white, he's black. Naming a black horse Snowball? That's like naming a polar bear Midnight.
Well, you wouldn't know what a polar bear is.
I was certain that the good judge would slap me upside my head, but he just softly chuckled and said, Never lose that special style of humor. I will admit I am getting used to it. He paused for a few seconds, then adding at last, and getting used to you. His eyes met mine, and he grew strangely. We looked at each other for several moments. John Freeman spoke at last. I thank you for the treats. I'd love to stay longer, but I do have duties to perform. I offered him a bright smile. Minister Frollo, you're welcome here anytime. I know you're busy, but drop by every now and then. John Freeman returned the smile. I shall, he said. Oh, yes, one more thing. Do call me Claude. I know you have been very polite and formal, but we know each other well enough to be on Christian terms, Anisha. He smiled again, said goodbye, and wrote.
Okay. I guess. Weirdo.
You have to understand that had different connotations back then. That meant they were just on a familiar basis.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. You think he would have brought this up before they sat down and had dessert. Not as he was leaving, I guess.
No, because I think he just came to that conclusion.
It was weird, I thought, that only a few days ago we were at odds. Now Claude and I were growing closer with each passing day, but only as friends. Yes, you keep reiterating this. I didn't care what people said about him, about his cruel nature and cold-heartedness. In those early days of our friendship, Claude always treated me with patience and kindness, because he really hasn't, to be fair. Often I would go to the Palace of Justice, and we would read poetry to each other. Sometimes Claude would show me his collection of tapestries, because somehow he knew of my keen interest in the textile arts, which we really haven't been shown other than you admiring a tapestry that one time. For several weeks I had hoped that things would change for us, but I didn't have the guts to tell him that I loved him. Which you shouldn't, him being a priest. I imagined he'd be offended if I confessed my true feelings. He never voiced his for me, except that he has, pretty much. Maybe it was all for the best, since as of August I would never see him again. I decided to treasure the close bond between us while my vacation lasted. But an innocent game, a game that wouldn't be invented for another 400 years, nearly ended a special friendship that was destined to blossom into romance and passion. So another thing that nearly ended the special friendship that you had with this guy who's, sure.